Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. And what are we getting back into? We are getting into Married at First Sight Australia series 11 and we are now on episode 13. And let me firstly apologise for not getting videos on quick enough. Life has been lifing, work has been working. That's all I can say on that point. But before we get into this video, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know I'm on and doing videos. And let's get into this video, shall we? So we know it is Confessions of the Couch, as I call it, aka the commitment ceremony. Everybody is still on tenterhooks in regards to what happened at the dinner party because everybody's discussing how things blew up completely. So you kind of see Tori and Jack speaking first, and Jack did ask Tori how she's feeling. She's saying that she's feeling just emotionally exhausted over everything that had gone on. The only thing I will say in Tori's defence is Tim should mind his business, drinking water and minding business, because at the end of the day, his relationship with Lucinda isn't necessarily going anywhere. So he needs to concentrate on what's going on at home rather than what everybody else is doing. Yes, Tori and Jack may be sexual beings, but for some reason, Jack no one to do it with her. For some reason, Jack is telling stories outside of his own marriage, but not necessarily telling Tori how he actually feels in that respect. So basically, Tori believes that she's surrounded by circus animals, and I'm kind of like, well, you can't say that, my love, because you're part of that whole Malay, to be honest with you. You're part of that circus repertoire with Jack too. Not just everybody else, it's you too. You are included in that. So basically, Tori said that she's tired of explaining her relationship about Jack with Tim and everybody else. Well, don't do it. Like, seriously, concentrate on something else. I don't think the only person who's been vocal in speaking up is Tim, but I still kind of think that everybody else thinks the same way as Tim, to be fair, but just ain't been forthright and said it. So apparently Jack was at the gym and decided to write Tori a letter. So he sent her a 4-page letter. He didn't seal it with a kiss because he knows he doesn't like her enough to jack off. I don't know where that came from. Oh God. I'm so sorry for your ear rolls right now. I really and well and truly don't know where that came from. Anyway, so Jack wrote Tori this letter to let her know that he thinks about her. So he said, the things I love about Tori, and as soon as he said it, he started laughing, and I'm thinking, don't use the word love up in there, because I tell you, don't love that girl just yet. You're playing with her. Yes, your emotions or whatever it is you think you need to build, maybe building, but you don't love her. You don't love her. Not yet anyway. So he goes, the way you make our bed, the way you grin on my head. I love the way you cuddle me at night. I love it when you put up a fight like last night. Anyway, we should continue with what he said. I love the way you make me feel this is a crazy experiment, but our connection is real. And then Tori just like giggled like a little girl, like really sighed and then giggled like a little girl. And I was like, oh my God, she's really taking this shit on. She's really liking the shit that's spurting out of this man's mouth right now. Me? Subpar. This thing was subpar. It wasn't even on the Richter scale of niceness at the end of the day. But this is Jack we're talking about. This is Jack. He does the bare minimum and Tori still likes it at the end of the day. He turned around and he said, most importantly, I love the way we are striving for our happy ever after, and of course how we shared that ridiculous laughter. Don't give up your J-Dog, but you know, it's convincing Tori. He says, don't ever change, I am proud of you. Jack says they are stronger than ever and he's feeling good about her, but he don't like her sexually. He's not sexually attracted to her. I'm just wondering how that is going to grow and how long it's going to take him in order for that to grow, in order for them to get to the next level, because it's been what, apparently coming up to 4 weeks now and still nothing. according to his deadline, it's 6 weeks. If nothing ain't happening after 6 weeks, then it ain't gonna happen. So he's got 2 weeks left in order to done the deal with Tori at the end of the day. That's what I'm saying. So we get to Tim and Lucinda, and Lucinda is talking to Tim and airing out her feelings, how she felt about the dinner party last night. And I knew she was humiliated, and that's what she said to him, that everything humiliated her last night. He humiliated her because he couldn't see when she was uncomfortable, because he was so gung-ho at getting at Tori and Jack. Rather than taking a step back, she's saying, and be humble for the fact of where they are in their own relationship, and him taking care of what's happening in his own garden that needed tending, rather than jumping to and casting aspersions on other people. But of course Tim won't see it like that. Tim won't see it like that, because he wanted to get at Tori, he wanted to get at Jack at the end of the day. He really did. For some unbeknownst reason to everybody else, he really just wanted to jump on their ass. Tim is turning around and saying, like, this is who he is, and he just wonders if Lucinda can do the time. And I'm just like, even with your terminology, Tim, it isn't, it's not great. It's seriously not great, because Lucinda is still waiting for that affection and that type of loving relationship from you, and you're not giving her that. She's had to dial back her own personality, which is unfair, I think, on Lucinda, because she's not allowed to be who she wants to be in his presence, because he's not comfortable with it. But then he's happy with her dialing it back, but she's not happy within herself, and you can see the changes within Lucinda. So she's saying that she's in very deep assessment as to whether she's going to continue with this guy, as to whether she's going to see if there's something there or not. But what she's not willing to do is continue to be humiliated by him. I do think Tim is pushing her away. This is him. This is what he's taught himself in order to do. He's, rather than changing the pattern of a lifetime and trying to open up, Tim is now pushing Lucinda away. So it goes to Ellie, and Ellie's talking about how she's confused and emotionally exhausted. And I'm just kind of like, if you're feeling that way now, coming to 4 weeks in, my girl, then you shouldn't be with him. No man should be making you feel that way. She said also the events at the dinner table has made her start to question Ben. And I'm like, he's starting to question you now. Not the fact that he mocked you, not the fact that he's very airy-fairy when it comes to kids. Only the shit that happened at the dinner table when he got called out and he couldn't answer the questions is making you question him now, and where you are, and that you're thinking about dialing it back before you open up yourself anymore to this man. I'm sorry, but Ellie's opened up herself too much to Ben. Way too much to Ben. That's why Ben continues to think he can take the piss in the way that he can. Continues to think that he can do things to this girl and she will accept it, because that's what she does. She keeps accepting it and then defending his ass. So why is he going to change if she's going to keep doing that? If she's going to keep, oh yes, he's trying, I do believe he's here for the right reasons, defend his ass, and then he does something else to her. It don't make no sense to me. It really don't make no sense to me. Tim and Sarah haven't spoken since the dinner party. They're actually in getting ready in different apartments. Tim had the audacity to akin themselves to Romeo and Juliet as star-crossed lovers. No, my love. No, you have to have the other partner to be interested in you and indebted to you and in love with you to be a star-crossed lover, the way Romeo and Juliet was, and from completely opposing sides. That's neither you nor Sarah. For some reason, Sarah doesn't like you and doesn't want to spend that time with you, but then also believes that she's in the right with the behaviour that she took, when she knows that she is not in the right in the slightest. And my gal can't humble herself enough to apologise to Tim for the behaviour that she displayed and caused with him. I don't like her. I'm sorry, I don't like her. I don't like people who treat people like that. As I said, I don't really like Tori and Jack. I'm coming to not like Tim, because he's starting to piss me off a little bit, because I do like Lucinda, and I definitely don't like Sarah. Lauren is on the cusp. She's on the cusp. And I think that's because of the way that she speaks to Jonathan at certain points in time. I don't like that either. She's very harsh and abrasive with that man when there is no need to be, and consistently putting his ass down where she don't need to do that. And I think sometimes these people don't look at their own behaviours and actually see it as a pattern of abuse against someone. Like, seriously, is a pattern of abuse against someone. Yes, it may not be full on and in your face, but it's there bubbling along in the background in the way that they speak. They have no respect for people. Like, and I'm like, do they honestly go through life speaking to people like this? Because I'm telling you, someone will pop them in their mouth soon enough. And then when you get into the room, because all the guys sit down first and then the women come in afterwards, when you get into the room, you notice Sarah don't say anything to Tim at all, even though Tim looks at her like an adoring little puppy, ready for her to say something to him or him to say something to her, to try and smile, connect, whatever. Not have rotted being from that girl. And Lucinda is leaning so far away from Tim you could fit another person in between them. So the first couple up on the couch is Ellie and Ben. They talked about how the first week had gone down, and then she talks about the date night and the fact that he mocked her, and he was saying that she was naive and silly. Everyone was literally, as Ellie was going into exactly what had happened on that date night, because she admitted a few things, was just looking at this guy like, are you for real, Ben? Like, seriously? Are you for real, my guy? Are you okay? Do you need help? Do you need someone to come and get you and breathe some life into you and knock some sense in your head? Is that what you need right now, Ben? Because this ain't the one. Like, seriously, this is not the one. So Ben is there looking his usual sheepish self, not really saying anything, trying to look downcast, not bringing too much attention to himself. Ellie says that he apologised, and I'm like, yeah, just because he apologised doesn't mean you still can't keep getting on this man's ass. Like, come on, he needs to fix up. Like, seriously. So Ellie tells them about the match situation, and that was in terms of Ben saying that he doesn't think that they're a match. And I'm like, he's playing with this girl's emotions. She said she's put her heart on the line, but she doesn't want to continue to do that if he's going to continue to keep pushing her back. So then they turn to Ben and see what he's got to say. And again, met with silence. How does this man communicate? Like, each time people push back on him to say, what the fuck are you doing? This is what you met with? Silence, absolute silence. I don't know if it's Ben trying to gather his thoughts, then trying to say what he needs to say before he says it, but the silence is deafening. That's all I'm gonna say. The silence is deafening. He then turns around and says, in terms of the match comment, he don't know why he said it, it just came out. My God, you're full of shit. Ben is full of shit. He just wanted to do that to hurt Ellie. That's what he wanted to do. He does know why he said it. He said it for a purpose. But if he said why he said it for a purpose up in there, he would be fucking railroaded by people. Like, seriously, you'd see his absolute true colours. That's why I think it's a cop-out when he turns around and he's like, well, I don't know why I said it. Or, I was feeling so much pressure, I didn't know whether I wanted to stay or leave. Everybody else in that motherfucking room is in the same boat, Ben. Not just you one. They're feeling the pressure too. Are they all trying to run out the door or put their partner down in the way that you're putting your partner down? No, they're not. So pull another one. So then John jumps in, and I'm like, I'll say again, this year, John, the expert, is on point, man. Like, seriously, he ain't stepping back from these people. He ain't being wishy-washy with these people. He's like, nah, if I see you doing the wrong, this is it. This is what we're going to do. I ain't playing games with you people no more. John turned around and said to him, I'm thinking you don't want to be with her. Just come clean. Say it. Do you want to be here? Biggest umming and ahhing I'd heard in my life when it came from Ben. And I'm like, this is what people mean, my guy. It's a straight yes or no answer. Because if it was a yes, you would say that shit straight away. You don't need to hold on to the drama. Just say yes or no straight away. So in the end, Ben said yes, that he's in it. And John asks again, Ben, do you see yourself having a future with Ellie? Again, Ben with the deer in the headlights look. Silence. And I'm just like, just because you're under pressure, you can still answer the question, you know what I mean? Ben, again, didn't really answer the question. He was quite pithy and he wasn't being direct with it, but you know, he slid it under there and managed to get away with the answer to that one. So then John asked him, what's the issue? Ben's response was, Ellie has been nothing but amazing, but wants to get away from the pressure on him. Again, everybody's feeling that same pressure, so that's an excuse on Ben's part. For me, that's an absolute excuse. I'm just like, grow a damn set of balls, yeah, and stop doing what you're doing. If you really want to be here, change your motherfucking behaviours. Why are you behaving that way towards Ellie? She ain't done you nothing, so I don't understand why he's doing that. Ben, at the end of that, turned around and apologised to Ellie. I don't feel his apology in the slightest. Andrea does pipe up and talks about how she'd been in a relationship with someone kind of like Ben, and it's kind of like that it's got nothing to do with Ellie, but these types of people always seem to put down other people to make themselves feel better. And I'm like, Andrea, start giving Ben these excuses. There's no excuse for his behaviour. I don't give a shit what anybody says. No excuse for him to treat Ellie in the way that he is treating her. And he needs to be called out for it, not given excuses for it. And then he needs to deal with it and change it and then act accordingly. That's what Ben needs to do. He's not a child. He's a grown-ass man. So then Lauren piped up and talked about Ellie's non-negotiables, which is children. She wants to have children. Does he want to have that? So then Jaden spoke up and said that he's not buying all of this from Ben at all. Me either, Jaden. Like, me either. I'm not buying it from Ben in the slightest. I really do think Ben just wants to stay on the show to hype up his, not his personality, but everything surrounding him, especially when it comes to social media followings and all this, that and the other. He wants to get known out there basically and have a far reach with his name. That's the only reason why I think Ben is still here. That's the only reason why I think Ben is still continuing to say what Ellie wants to hear. But Ellie needs to start listening carefully now and acting accordingly when it comes to Ben, and start listening to the warning that her cousin gave her at the get-go from her wedding, because I don't think she is. So Ben goes into the whole bloody gummo story of talking to his sister-in-law and hearing the niece and nephews behind him and saying that's what he wanted. And everybody was looking at him like, bro, what? Because Ben, we all know Ben ain't ready for this shit. Ben is not ready for this shit, like, seriously. But again, Ellie turns around and says that what she needs from Ben now is for him to try and stabilise his emotions. And I'm like, and he calls Ellie emotional? It's you, my guy. It's you that is the emotional one and putting your shit onto Ellie. So their decision was to stay, basically. Ben wrote a whole soliloquy about wanting children in the future. I don't know if Ellie buys it, but I certainly do not buy it. And if it was me in that position, I would be protecting myself left, right and centre until I saw change. So then the next couple that comes up is Tori and Jack. And I ain't gonna lie, they do look like they're getting on well together. Like, seriously, they do. Whatever is happening there for them at the end of the day. But I think Jack needs to tell Tori the truth of the matter of where his desires are actually lying at this point in time. So Jack basically says that they are closer together and says that Tori is strong and a well-voiced girl, and then calls out Tim for what he said at the dinner party. So Alessandra, one of the experts, says to Tim to share. And Tim basically piped up and said he wasn't sure whether it was real or not. So Jack settles in as he steps back and lets Tori rip. Now, at first I thought that was a case of, like, you know what, he's not up to defending her and stuff like that. But there are some guys out there that will let their woman deal with the situation at hand, and if there's a time that they believe that they're struggling is when they will jump in. And I think that's what Jack is doing. He's giving Tori the floor in order to say what she needs to say, and if he needs to step in, then he will step in. So Tori says, so what is your opinion based on? Because your opinion has to be based on observation, which is in fact true. And of course, again, Tim does not say what Jack has been saying outside of their marriage. He just boils it down to them both being sexual beings, but they're not getting intimate in that way. He's not actually saying that, well, actually, when we were in the group's couple, Jack did say this is where he was at. That's why I'm saying I don't think your relationship is on par as you believe with everybody else's, because Jack ain't telling you the truth of it. Now, he could have went with that, but he didn't. He really didn't. He still went down the sexual vein, which weren't going to work. Because at the end of the day, Jack, Tim, you ain't doing shit with Lucinda. So mind your business. So Lucinda, again, you can see feels uncomfortable by this chatter. And again, Tim could have said, when Alessandria asked him, you know what, I am opening up that can of worms again, and I don't really feel like I should answer it or get into an argument or get into any type of thing with these two. I said, because I have to consider Lucinda's feelings as well, and she's already told me that from what I brought up at the dinner party, it had humiliated her, and I don't really feel like we need to keep going over this again and again, because at the end of the day, you were there at that dinner party, you knew what was said. I'm not going to go over it again, and you should have shut that conversation off there. But no, Tim did not do that. So then Lauren jumps in to defend Tori, and turns around and says, is it because I haven't had sex? And Tim he says, me, myself, he cannot line it up. So Tim says that he is a little bit pessimistic, and then this is when Jack speaks up and asks him if he felt good about the chats that he had with Tori at the dinner party. And Tim says it was passionate, and he says it's not an attack, it was just a difference of opinion. I think Tori and Jack were wanting an apology from Tim, but that was not going to happen, because as Tim says, he don't regret anything that he said. So if they're looking for an apology, you need to look somewhere else, because Tim ain't going to give them one at the end of the day. See, Lucinda is squashed in the corner of that couch, further and further disappearing into that side of that couch, while they're still continuing to go on and debate this shit. She don't want to be a part of it. She ain't speaking up for Tim. She ain't saying anything in regards to Tim. She's just keeping well out of it. So then Tori looks to Jack, says, okay, let's just take it back to ourselves. So they turn back to the experts, and she says that she thinks they maintain where they're at when it comes to being intimate. I'm just like, this is lies, my girl. This is lies, because you are ready to rip the clothes off this man. You are literally throbbing at the core because you want this man to do X, Y, and Z to you, and he ain't done shit to you yet. It's all just talk. Because you was the one, Tori, that said after intimacy week, if sex ain't on the pipeline, then there's something wrong there. But now you're saying that you're maintaining what you need to maintain. Okay, let's continue. So then Jack says, we haven't had sex, but I think she knows I'm into her and I'm proud of her and I'm still winning the girl. And I was like, this man's full of shit too. I know two things can happen at once, yeah. But my guy, yeah, come here. You said there is no, and I repeat, no sexual attraction. And this is what I mean about Jack saying one thing outside of his marriage and doing a completely 180 when it comes to that couch and sitting next to Tori. I'm just like, okay. I'll call bullshit, but okay. You just continue in the vein that you are doing. So then Jack talks about the little poem that he wrote for Tori, and Tori was like a gushing little girl, and I was like, this is so cringe right now. This is so cringe. So they were asked how they feel about one another. Jack straight out lied in my estimations. He said, I think Tori is a babe. I think she is amazing. Don't get me wrong, she probably is a babe and she probably is amazing. But again, Jack doesn't say anything about not feeling that sexual chemistry with her even to now. And I think that's something that Tori needed to know. And all I thought was, Jack, may you spontaneously combust with the lies that you just keep on telling in front of this girl's face. Okay, let's move on. So Tori says that she is loving it, and basically Jack knows he's got this girl where he wants her, like fully and completely. Tori's not going nowhere. She says that she trusts Jack completely, and I'm like, okay, that's the road Tori wants to travel. That's the road Tori will keep on traveling. Tori sees it going a long way, and all I kept on thinking at that point is, I don't think this man wants you at all. Jack says he sees a future. He's basically setting them up for success, and he's glad to be matched with Tori, and he says that to her weekly. And no one, even the lads, the only person that's called them out is Tim. But even the other lads, when they were sat in that group therapy session with Alessandra, no one has dropped the bag with this man. No one has literally called this man out and called him a liar for what he's saying because he said X, Y, and Z. Not a bean. So I'm like, okay, so their decision was to stay. All I can say is the claps that day, that couple afterwards were hella awkward. It was like, I will clap, but I don't really want to clap because you know what, I don't really believe in yes. And I'm like, well, why clap for? Because I wouldn't clap if that's the case at all. So then we come to Lucinda and Tim. If they could sit furthest apart from each other, I think one would be on the opposite side of the room and one would be on the other side of the room. Like Lucinda couldn't get away from him. So Lucinda talks about the dinner party and the fact that she was humiliated, especially when the talk of the 23-year-olds came up and everything like that. And this is why I thought Lauren should have shut her mouth at that point, because nobody gave a thought to Lucinda and how she felt in that scenario, or because they wanted to get at Tim. But Tim opened that fucking door for them to do that by not keeping his mouth shut and minding his motherfucking business and tending to what's going on in his own relationship at the end of the day. He said, because she was saying that he was quick to point the finger, which he was, and he didn't humble himself with their own experience. So Lucinda basically sets it out for Tim, tells him what's what, that the shit that he had going on at that dinner table is not her jam in the slightest. It's not where she is spiritually, and it's not where she wants to be physically either. So Lucinda said that she's hurt. And basically, as I'd already talked about in my previous episode, that Lucinda's light has been dimmed by Tim, absolutely dimmed by Tim, and you can see it. And it's taken a lot of her. She's basically saying that she has been observing everything that's going on around her, and she has minimum affection from Tim. And I'm like, as Lucinda's saying all of this, my guy, I don't know if it's an uncomfortable smile or what, but Tim is smiling, and I'm like, get that smile off your motherfucking face, because this is serious for Lucinda. It ain't no motherfucking joke at the end of the day. So seriously, listen to what it is that she is saying. She goes in and says that she has to think of herself basically now, and she have to decide. She's still assessing the situation of whether she wants to carry on with this guy or whether this guy is really for her. I'm just thinking that Tim don't really care, and Lucinda does talk about like there's a misalignment for her, and Lucinda does see Tim's shields and armor coming up, and again, excuses again for people to continue to act bad to good people. That's how I'm seeing it. Ellie does it with Ben, and then you've got Lucinda who does it with Tim. There's only so far that behaviour can take you before you get full on pissed off with it and say you're either going to change, or if you're not, I'm done at the end of the day. And that's how I'm seeing it. So John turned around and said that to Tim, that it looked as though at that dinner party that if anybody came in Tim's crosshairs, they were going to get it. He was going to get them for it. So Tim turned around and said that he was guarded and defensive. And I have to question, why is he on this show? Why is he on the show if he's not going to learn, if he is not going to change the pattern of a lifetime? He's got someone good in Lucinda, and he needs to recognise that. He says it out of his mouth, but I don't think he truly recognises the attributes that Lucinda can bring to a relationship. So he's saying that he's continually pushing Lucinda away. Tim says he is a disaster. And again, the same thing with Tristan. Why do these people not seek therapy before they decide to apply to these shows? And why do these experts keep on picking these types of people who are, yes, everybody's damaged. Everybody is damaged gets damaged in their lifetime. But that doesn't mean you have to put your shit on another person. That doesn't mean you have to apply to a show like this and damage someone else within that process when they are actually at a point when they've worked through their shit in order to get to the point that they're at, and all you're doing is dragging them back. Go work on yourself first. Like, seriously, that's what I would say. Work on yourself first and then come back to the drawing board with this. I'm losing that, as I said, will be constantly battling because Tim don't know how to freaking change the habits of a lifetime. He don't know how to do that. Lucinda is basically open to him just opening himself up and saying that she will embrace that disaster of him. She will embrace anything he brings forward, and she's saying, she would say, we'll just bless this mess. She's not shying away from it. So Lucinda, they think, is equipped at carrying the baggage. Still, I think it's too much to put on others, but hey ho, this is where we're at this point in time. And Lucinda's basically said, which is a good key word, that it's going to come down to Tim and his willingness to actually work at opening up and being emotionally vulnerable with Lucinda at the end of the day. So Tim turns around and says that he's ready to get on board, and I'm like, we'll see. We'll see if you really are, Tim. We'll see if you really are, because right now you're not instilling me with no confidence. Their decision was to stay. So the next couple up was Cassandra and Tristan. And Cassandra just talked about, like, she would like Tristan to try a little bit more, but this is coming in terms of like hugs, cuddles, some kisses. She wants to feel that connection with Tristan, but Tristan is not giving her that because Tristan struggles with intimacy, because I think people get it twisted thinking that intimacy is just about sex when it isn't. It's about everything in between at the end of the day, in terms of making your partner feeling good and feeling you're present with your partner at that time, and you are showing them that actually, even if we ain't talked all day, I still think about you, I am attracted to you, I love you, and giving them that physical and emotional connection, whereas Tristan is not doing that. So they both wrote stay. It was short and sweet. Mal did the experiment and got Tristan to hug her. Well, they all cajoled Tristan into hugging Cass. And I don't think Cass wants a hug like that, really. She just literally wants him to be able to do it off his own back, not be cajoled into doing it. But he did, and he said, I love you, Cass, you were the best. And she was happy with that, like literally latched onto that and said, did you hear what he just said to me? Sort of thing. But Tristan needs to take on board and listen to what it is that Cass is saying, because Cass is not a horrible person. She's a nice girl. But the problem with, if Tristan don't literally start to push against them barriers that he's feeling, Cassandra's going to walk away, like seriously walk away. And we see that in the next episode where they have a certain situation between them, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So the next ones up were Jaden and Eden. Again, fast and sweet. The decision was to stay. Jaden says that he's head over heels for Eden, and Eden says that he tells her that every day, and she has a massive crush on him. And then we get to Andrea and Richard. Again, fast and easy. Ain't nothing really to write home about. They, of course, Richard, as he always does, brings it to sex, embarrasses Andrea, but hi ho. Basically says that they're a lot closer together, but them two haven't hit a stumbling block as yet. So when they do, that's when it will test the mettle of their relationship and see how they are within a conflicted situation and how they deal with it. But either that, their decision was to stay. We get to Lauren and Jonathan, and Lauren highlighted the issue between them. And she agrees that Jonathan is right in saying that he's not heard. And it's not like she doesn't want to hear him. Yet she talks about her body language where it might seem as though she's not interested. She's aware that she's doing it and she shuts down. And with Jonathan's personality, she's used the word as boring and robotic. Again, I believe that's hella harsh of Lauren to do. You could see the visceral reaction that Jonathan had to being called boring because he hadn't heard that one, and he was upset by it, to be fair. And it's kind of like she says these things to make him feel shit, like she really does. She does. And then she says she can't compute why she would do that. She thinks it's self-sabotage, but she doesn't know why she's doing it. Me myself, when it comes to self-sabotage, deep down people know why they're self-sabotaging. They know why they do that shit, and they know where their emotions are coming from. But what Lauren is doing is unfair to Jonathan at the end of the day. But about the fact that she's literally knocked his confidence right there, which is wholly inappropriate, like wholly inappropriate. And this is why I say some of these people can't see how their words and their behaviours are impacting on the people that they're with, because they're so fucking self-centered in terms of dealing with their own shit and their own emotions, that they believe that they're doing right when they actually are not. They're not taking a step back and saying, you know what, if I said this or do this to this person, how would it make them feel before I go ahead and do it? None of them do that. And this is what I mean with Lauren now. Lauren is saying that she really does like Jonathan, and I hope she's coming to the realization that she's impacting Jonathan with her behaviour. And you cannot expect this man to become the people that you're used to. You're there for a motherfucking change. The experts put you together for a reason. So you need to stop getting at this man and give this man a chance. At the end of the day, yes, he speaks in a monotone, which will be hella irritating as fuck, but Jonathan is not a bad person. That's what I'm going to say on that one. So their decision was to stay. So then we have the next couple up, which we were all waiting for, the very last couple, Sarah and Tim. Hey. John went in on it again. So basically, Sarah then turns around and says that after the dinner party, she was embarrassed about how they aired their dirty laundry. And in front of the whole group, she apologises to everybody. I was like, my girl, where's your apology to Tim? Because at the end of the day, you were the one that fucking embarrassed him. Where's your apology to Tim? She didn't even give him not a bean. So Mel had to ask, like, who was she apologising to? And she's saying the room to the group. So Mel had to ask again, so is Tim not good enough for an apology? Sarah didn't really see what a shit human being she was being towards Tim. She really did not see it. So Sarah then turned around and says, but he yelled at me. I said, my girl, before Tim even raised his voice, you were on that man's back, literally pointing your finger at him, raising your voice at him, because he had to fight above you to be heard. Now you're saying, well, he yelled at me. No. Sarah can't paint herself as the victim in that scenario. Yeah, because she's the absolute instigator of that scenario at the end of the day. She's absolutely not realizing that this man has given you what you've wanted. This man, 3 dates, my love, and 3 times you cancelled, and you expect him to just accept it. Just tell him you don't want to be around him. Just tell him that you don't want to be around him, because your actions are showing it at the end of the day. So then they turned around and said, Mel did turn around and pull her out and said, well, actually, you were the one not listening to Tim at all. You yelled at him first, and he hit back because of the frustration that he was feeling at that time to be heard. And then again, as I said, she wants to act like that I'm victim, and I'm like, Jesus, come take the wheel and save this girl right now, because I don't think she knows what she speaks of. I don't think she has any type of self-awareness in regards to her behaviour and how she's behaved. Like, no self-awareness whatsoever. I mean, do they honestly forget that the experts are sitting in a different room watching everything that's going on in that dinner party? Like, they must do. So Tim said that he found his voice and expressed himself to Sarah. And honestly, Sarah was looking like she was the hard done by one. Like, seriously. So Tim says that he got to a breaking point and asked Sarah why she didn't apologise to Tim. And she says, because everybody's calling her out now she sees it and she apologised to Tim. I thought you half-assed that. Sarah half-assed it completely, because my thing is no, you should have seen that shit beforehand and apologized to this man. You just thought you were in the motherfucking right and Tim was in the wrong. So Mel did ask what was the genuine reason for Sarah cancelling on Tim 3 times. I think everybody was waiting to know the answer to this one at the end of the day. So Sarah said the first time she said she was not in a good place and if they could do next weekend. Then she said, let's coolly, then went out with her friends. All I heard was, me, I, selfish. That's all I heard. Tim is not a priority to Sarah in the slightest. That's what she meant to say. He's not a priority in her grand scheme of things. So, you know what? It ain't going to matter if I cancel those dates. I don't really want to spend that time with you in a secluded area, having to do small talk with you or what have you. I'm going to go out with my friends. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and enjoy myself rather than have to deal with you. That's what she was saying with her actions. Tim says it's a lack of commitment and effort from Sarah and it's exhausting, not being heard or seen. And again, even when Tim is saying this, there's no reaction from Sarah at all. Not one reaction from her at all. And again, I would question, why is she here? Why is she well and truly here? Like, seriously. So the Cassandra speaks up and says to Tim that when he's Tim with them, with the group, he's completely different. He's fun-loving, he's outgoing. But then when he's with Sarah, he's colder. And then asked, are you afraid of her? And then, you know what? Quiet shining light who can't speak up at the time that she's getting lambasted and not listening to Tim in terms of how he's feeling, can speak up and get defensive now against Cassandra. Like, don't you dare indicate that he's afraid of me. No, because then if Tim agreed and indicated that he was kind of afraid of you in terms of raising stuff and he having his voice heard, then that would have to make you accept that you're actually being quite abusive to this man. It would have to make you accept that you're actually not being quite nice to this man. And that's what Sarah don't want to do. So, again, she doesn't allow for Tim to talk when the question was directed at Tim. So Tim says that we have been struggling and I have lost my energy a little bit. Tim throws Sarah way under the bus in terms of what he's saying. He's basically said that he's hesitant with his communication with Sarah as he doesn't want to create issues that he doesn't want to have. So that in a nutshell, my love, tells you that this man is afraid to open his mouth around you because of the way that you make him feel. So in answer, he was saying that, yes, I am scared of Sarah, but he didn't rightly come straight out and say that, but that's what he said in a roundabout way. And I asked him what he needs from Sarah, and he just says warmth, and this girl, as he says that, just smirks, and I'm like, yeah, this girl don't want you, Tim. Sarah don't want you. Like, she honestly don't want you. She's playing at this, like, completely. They go and ask her and say, well, why is she finding it so hard? And she turns around that she didn't feel she's at a point to go on dates with Tim or wanting to have that urge to go on dates with him. And again, why are you here? But then at this point, none of the experts pick apart what she actually said about she doesn't have the urge to go on dates with her husband when she asked him to set this shit up, to think outside the box, to be more direct and did it. That's what I said, called bullshit. They ended up writing stay. Tim turns around and says that he will give it a try for another week and see how it goes. And that's where the episode ended. We do know in the next episode that we get 2 other weddings. We get Michael, after 4 weeks, has actually been found a partner. Remember Michael who got dumped by Simon before they even reached the altar. That Michael. And we see another couple called, I think, what's their name, Madeline and Ash, who get married, and we see the OG couples actually get invited to that wedding, and there is a lot to talk about there. Anyway, that is the end of that episode. I'll be back in quick succession with the next episode, but as I always say, my renegades, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so when you know I'm on and do videos. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.